for news, opinions, debates, your voice, and justice served. This is a special report from Bethea's Byte Reloaded. Good afternoon or good evening, everybody. East Coast, West Coast, North Side, South Side, wherever you are in this great country of ours. My name is Ernest Bethea, the last outlaw. This is a special report from Bethea's Byte Reloaded. This is in regard to the shooting in Atlanta. And before I even begin, I'm gonna do my best DJ Khaled impersonations by simply saying another one. Another mass shooting occurred in the Atlanta area. This is the following has been reported by CBS News. At least one woman was killed and at least 4 others were injured in a shooting Wednesday at a medical building in Atlanta, according to authorities. No suspect was in custody, but police identified him on Twitter as Deion Patterson, age 24, and were searching for him as of Wednesday afternoon. The suspect was described in an alert sent to cell phones as a black male wearing a gray hooded sweatshirt, black pants, and brown shoes. Anyone with information about the suspect's whereabouts was urged to call 911. The 5 women were shot around midday Wednesday afternoon in a waiting room on an upper floor of Northside Hospital. This is according to Police Chief Dan Shearbaum during a press conference. He said it was too soon to know whether the victims were targeted, and it wasn't immediately clear if the victims were patients or hospital employees. Patterson apparently became agitated as he was waiting for an appointment, according to a law enforcement source talking to CBS's Pat Milton. He then pulled out a handgun and began shooting, striking the 5 women. In a tweet, Northside Hospital said it is cooperating with law enforcement following the shooting at its Midtown location. A 39-year-old woman died at the scene of the shooting, and 4 other women were taken to a hospital for treatment. 3 patients were in critical condition, and 1 was in stable condition, according to Grady Memorial Hospital. The injured women ranged in age from 25 to 71 years old. The suspect was seen by a license plate scanning camera about 12:30 p.m. Atlanta time, north of Midtown, in the area around Interstate 75 and Interstate 285, at a parking garage near the Battery and close to Truist Park. This is according to Cobb County Public Information Officer Sergeant Wayne Delk during an early evening news conference. The suspect is believed to have carjacked a vehicle to flee the scene as authorities responded to the shooting. Authorities believe they've recovered the vehicle. Everyone considered him still armed and presenting a danger to whatever community he may find himself in at this time. Investigators haven't recovered a gun, according to Shearbaum. The suspect's family has been cooperating with authorities. The chief described the suspect's prior contact with Atlanta Police Department as minimal. A U.S. Coast Guard spokesperson said the suspect entered the Coast Guard in July of 2018 and was discharged in January of 2023. This was reported by CBS News' Nicole Snanga. Shortly after 12:30 Atlanta time, police said they were responding to an active shooter situation in the area and urged people to shelter in place. Just after 3 p.m. during that time, police said the shelter-in-place order was lifted. Authorities searched every floor of the medical building for possible additional victims. Police released several images of the suspect on social media, saying the suspect was believed to be armed and dangerous and should not be approached. A woman who lives in Midtown Atlanta told CBS affiliate WANF-TV that it was a very sad day. "I am not going to live in fear because I love this community," the woman said. "I'm just sad that this happened in Atlanta and it's happening all over the world." So now, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to turn this over to CBS News and the coverage they've given the moment this story broke.
Welcome back to CBS News. I'm Lana Zach.
I'm Errol Barnett.
And we are covering some breaking news out of Atlanta. A suspect still at large accused of shooting 4 people. 1 victim deceased. 3 are believed to be at Grady Hospital. We have no word right now on their condition. We do know that there has been no further gunshots since those initial shots were reported about a little bit less than an hour ago. But we do know that police are still looking for this shooter, as they recommend that everybody in the area remain in place.
That's right. All of this unfolding around lunchtime in a busy part of Atlanta. Kathy Guider is a former FBI official who's helping us understand how the police are likely working with other agencies. We don't know if the FBI has been invited yet. But Kathy, one thing we are seeing on some of the social channels, I mentioned Georgia Tech is not too far away. Georgia Tech's police say they're coordinating with Atlanta police. There's also the metro system in Atlanta known as MARTA. They will have images and other resources to share. Help us understand how, while the Atlanta police is leading this, it's really using tools from a mobile command center to a SWAT unit truck to try and bring an end to it all.
Correct. They're going to use every resource available to them. And if that, means a local university, that means the metro system, they're going to use whatever camera systems are available, whatever intelligence information that those other agencies can provide. All that information is going into that command post, and that command post is then working that information and shooting it to the correct people so that they have real-time information of what's going on, what's happening.
We want to bring in now Mark Strassman. He's our CBS News national correspondent there in Atlanta for us. Mark, tell us, what are you learning?
Well, I'm standing on the outside of the perimeter here in Midtown Atlanta, which is an absolute mess right now. You can see all the police cars over this shoulder. You can see the SWAT unit with the flashing lights over my right shoulder. And right now, of course, everybody's trying to figure out where the shooting suspect is. Nobody knows if he's in one of the buildings or if he made his way out. There was a report about 15 minutes ago of a possible carjacking. Don't know if that report is true. Don't know if that report is connected to what has happened here. What we do know, of course, is that 5 people shot. 1 of them is dead. The suspect's mother is apparently talking to Atlanta police right now, trying to give some insight. The shooting happened just afternoon inside a medical clinic. There are reports that the shooting suspect was in there for a mental evaluation, and now is somewhere on the loose, and that is the focus of a citywide manhunt. Really, there are all sorts of police agencies that have responded here, both local, state, and federal. This is priority 1 in Midtown Atlanta, is trying to figure out where this guy is. He's considered armed, extremely dangerous. There have been 5 people shot already. 1 person has been killed, and I think the goal at this point is to get the suspect in custody and bring the horror of the day to an end where it is now, rather than have it get worse.
And what really jumps out at me, Mark, as a former resident of Midtown there, is just how frightening this must be for not just people in the immediate area, but everyone in Atlanta. Mass shootings are becoming more common, unfortunately, in this country, and we're seeing the lights, hearing the sirens, knowing that there may be a threat there. Speak to me about just that sense of fear and the alerts that you're getting on your phone telling you to look out.
Yeah, and if you know Atlanta as you do, Errol, I mean, this is Midtown. This is a hub of all kinds of activity. This is where people work. This is where people go to restaurants. This is, in some cases, where people shop. And there's a lot of traffic going through here, particularly right around noon. And so this would have been a total jolt to the system. When these alerts started coming in, you got to be careful. You got to watch where you're going. I mean, this area right now is under a shelter-in-place order, and even the hospital, Grady Hospital, which is Atlanta's only level 1 trauma center, which is about, I'd say, 2 miles south of where I am. Even that is on lockdown, just because the concern for a person who is armed, dangerous, and has already proved capable of gun violence is so sky high. But you're absolutely right, Errol. I mean, people's blood pressures here will definitely be high until the suspect is caught, just because there are so many folks who are in and about Midtown at this time of day, and there are lots of people here who are being told, if you're not in Midtown, stay away. Don't come here. Stay away. Let the cops do their job. Keep the streets clear for the possible pursuit and apprehension of the suspect, because right now, as they say, priority one for everybody involved.
And we understand that we are expecting a news conference outside of Grady Hospital. As Mark just said, that's a level 1 trauma facility, the only level 1 trauma facility there in Atlanta. We believe that there were at least 3 victims that were transported there. Again, this is a breaking news situation. We are trying to bring you the best information that we have as we have it. And of course, when that press conference starts and we have it up, we will bring it to you. But first, we want to go back now to Kathy Guider, a former FBI official. She has been with us throughout this. Kathy, you heard Mark bringing us up to date about the latest that we're seeing here, that we're hearing here. Talk to us about the complications when you have people sheltering in place. You mentioned how densely populated this area is with all folks in these high-rise buildings. How difficult is it then for law enforcement to go through and clear each of those floors? And is there something more that you can tell us about how that coordination happens between, as Mark was saying, several different agencies now?
Correct. So there's got to be coordination, and that's what someone in that command post is doing. And, so one agency may have one building, a different agency may take another building, or depending on staffing, let's say, just for the sake of example, state police takes, the first floor, Fulton County takes the second floor. And as they clear a floor, then the available person moves to the next floor. It's a very slow, tedious process. We've all worked in office buildings, and you know how many offices there are, how many storerooms, copy rooms, break rooms, bathrooms. Every one of those rooms is going to have to be searched. It is a slow process. And these buildings look to be every bit of 10 floors high.
All right,
they're
Kathy,
very large.
stand by for us. Apologies for the interruption, but we do want to now get the latest medical officials there in Atlanta at the hospital. Let's listen.
A lot of information that could identify, but can you tell us if these are adults, children, any age ranges?
They're all adults.
Any genders, anything going on?
No, I don't have that.
Have their families been notified?
We know that a couple of families are here, but I don't know about the other ones.
You said originally you were preparing for 12.
Yes.
The original call come in that there might be 12 coming?
That's what we heard initially, but I think in these situations there's a lot of confusion, as you know.
All right. Thank God. Thank God. Thank you. We'll keep you guys updated.
3 critical, 1 in the yard. So the 4 people total, but 2 in the operating room. Okay, 2 out of 4.
So I'm Robert Jansen, I'm the chief medical
Critical or?
Thank you guys.
We just caught the tail end of that press update from the local hospital. They have to be careful, of course, because of HIPAA laws of what information they can share. But the chief medical officer there, Dr. Robert Jansen, saying there are now 3 victims in critical condition that they're currently treating. Some families have already arrived to... Gosh, what would you do? I don't know what you would do in this situation if a relative had been shot and you're at the hospital wondering what will happen next. But while most of Atlanta, or at least this part of Midtown, is on lockdown as they search for the suspect, you've got a number of grieving families right now.
Absolutely. We want to check back in with Mark Strassman, who is there on the ground for us. Mark, I don't know if you were able to hear anything that Dr. Robert Jensen had to say, but he did report that all of the victims that were brought there to Grady Hospital were adults. 3 remain in critical condition. What more are you learning there on the ground?
Well, essentially that. I mean, obviously, part of the issue here is that information is coming at all of us from multiple directions, and the information is very fluid, and it's really easy to jump on this tidbit or that tidbit without sort of nailing down what exactly we have. So it is really helpful to hear from Dr. Jansen, who has been at Grady for a long, long time, what exactly the situation is there. So we know that 3 people in critical condition, which again, as if you needed more proof of the gravity of the gunshots this morning. 1 person dead, 3 people in critical condition. Clearly a a day to remember for anybody who's in Midtown Atlanta today. And so what we're looking for now, of course, is some guidance from police in particular, an update from them. If they are talking to the suspect's shooter by various reports, of course, they will want to know a number of things, not only who he is, but what state of mind he was in, what was anything bothering him lately, where he might be headed next, all of those things that can result in a quick apprehension and an end to the public threat here. And then police have to begin this at the same time a building by building search here. That's not going to be easy. I mean, this is a very dense section of Atlanta with office buildings of various heights. And to go through each of them room by room, bathroom by bathroom, stall by stall. I mean, all of that, of course, is also going to take time. And once they have done that, and then they can begin to try to piece together what the motivation was here. But really, the immediate concern is just the end to the public threat. They need to make sure that whoever the shooter is, that they do not harm anyone else or kill anyone else. And as I've been saying, that really is the top priority in the moment.
And it makes complete sense, Mark, for anyone in Atlanta who might be irritated because the roads are shut down, there's traffic, there's confusion. It's all for the benefit of public safety. I think it's remarkable also where this is taking place. It's 2 blocks, it seems, away from the major highway through Atlanta, the 75-85. Police not closing that down yet, but it could be a bigger lockdown, a bigger limit on where people can travel. One thing you said earlier, Mark, struck me in that the suspect was in the medical center, we believe, or at least according to reports, for a mental evaluation. Am I accurate in saying that? Can you share more of what we know about the suspect?
That's what various reports have come out and said. And again, I almost hesitate to put that out there, just because it has yet to be confirmed by people who are in a position to confirm those kind of things. What I can tell you is just the sense of urgency to bring that person into custody before any of this gets any worse. And you're absolutely right. I mean, I can see I-75, I-85, which is a block from in that direction from where I'm standing. Georgia Tech is 6 blocks from here. Midtown is right behind me. I mean, there are a number of highly populated areas that are now at risk. And those areas need to be brought to safety. And the only way to do that is to bring this guy in.
All right, we now have some updates. This Atlanta PD have released the name of the suspect, Deion Patterson of Atlanta. We also have an update in the number of victims, 5 victims of this shooting. 3 are in critical condition at Grady Hospital. An additional person, we do not have any information about their condition, also wounded, but there is at least 1 fatality. Total number of victims, 5. And the person that police are looking for right now, Deion Patterson, still believed to be out there at large. Dangerous, they say. If you see this person, please do not approach them. Call 911 instead.
Let's bring back in Kathy Guider now, our former FBI agent, helping us understand what's likely happening behind the scenes. Kathy, we now have a name, a date of birth, those still images from what appear to be security cameras in the building. What more can you tell us about this stage of the manhunt now that they have been able to positively identify him?
Right. So one of the key points that I also took away from your last correspondent, Mark, he had mentioned that there was a possibility that the suspect's mother was talking to police, and that's huge. So now we have a name, we have date of birth, we possibly have the mother who is assisting. So the police will be going into the intelligence gathering mode to get all the information they can find on this Deion Sanders. They're going to be looking at,
Deion Patterson, media. I believe. Sorry.
I'm sorry, Patterson. Yes. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Patterson. They're going to be looking at everything on social media that he has put out there, and his work, his employment, his neighborhood, his friends. They're going to be going through all of that in a very quick basis, trying to get the latest information. You know, has he put anything out on social media since this started? You know, what's the connectivity with his mother? Has she been in contact with him? Have they been able to have any type of communication since this happened with him, you know, through the mother? There's a lot going on behind the scenes at this point in time.
All right, Kathy Geider, with all of your expertise from your years at the FBI, thank you.
We now want to connect with Alan Judd. He's an investigative reporter for the AJC, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, the major paper there in Atlanta, to see what more we can discuss. Alan, tell me, based on what you're hearing, we now have a name of the suspect, 4 images, police telling folks to hunker down if you're in the area, but stay away from this suspect. What can you tell me about how this is impacting the city?
It's really caused a lot of chaos. There are hundreds of law enforcement personnel who have converged on Midtown. Midtown Atlanta is a very busy area with a lot of office buildings, apartment buildings, you know, retail establishments, hotels. Very vibrant part of the city, and it is basically shut down now. Traffic is at a standstill in an area, and people are being told to shelter in place until the suspect is located.
Alan, we've heard a little bit about the possibility that the suspect's mother, who police have identified as Deion Patterson, may be speaking with authorities. In your reporting, have you learned anything more about whether this is happening or any other insight that you can bring?
We don't really know exactly what's happening with her. We understand that she was in the office that the shooting took place in. We don't know whether she was there as a patient or whether she works there. We know that she apparently was able to get away from the location, and you know, the reporting that we're hearing is that she is cooperating with the police.
And, you know, this is a breaking story. It's all unfolded in just the past few hours since lunchtime. And so the information we're relying on is from the Atlanta police. They, of course, being very careful about what they say and what they show as they continue to try to find the suspect. But I just want to pull back the veil a little bit, Alan, for our viewers, because you will know, as we know in our newsroom, a lot of people say a lot of things when news like this breaks. And there was footage of an individual on a rooftop that Atlanta police determined was a construction worker. It wasn't the suspect. Talk to us about how this type of breaking news moment that unnerves so many people can be challenging when it comes to verifying what's accurate and keeping people safe.
Yeah, it's very difficult because there's so much happening and so much happening very quickly, all at once as well. And there already are a number of things that have been reported that turned out to be probably not correct. There have been reports of a carjacking maybe involved, and then there's a report that no, that carjacking had nothing to do with this. This person spotted on top of a roof nearby apparently was not the suspect. So there's a lot of information that's flowing very rapidly that is unconfirmed, and it's really important to kind of step back and you know, unfortunately we have to wait to see exactly what is happening.
And Alan, as we're stepping back and trying to understand this in the larger context, there are so many mass shootings that unfortunately happen on a very regular basis here in the United States. What about this particular incident makes it more concerning, garners this level of attention? Is it that the suspect is still at large? Is it the area in Atlanta, a very busy space in which it took place? Is it that it took place in a medical facility? Tell us more about the Atlanta landscape and how this piece of the puzzle fits into the national picture.
I think it's a little bit of all of those things. The fact that this person is still at large is unusual, because in most of the mass shootings we've seen in recent years, the suspect tends to be either apprehended on the scene. Sometimes they've taken their own lives, or they are killed in a shootout with police. And in this case, this person seems to have disappeared pretty rapidly after the shooting took place. So it's it has a lot of people in a very heavily populated, highly congested area, very concerned about their safety because no one knows where he is or what he might do next.
And Alan, I'm thinking back to a story I covered in Atlanta a few years ago, which was another mass shooting of someone who appeared to be targeting nail salons, massage parlors, as he really terrorized the city, going to separate locations. And then he was found heading south of Atlanta as part of a coordination with the Atlanta Police Department and neighboring jurisdictions. Catch me up, though. How prepared are Atlanta police for this type of thing? How many reforms have they made or additional efforts to be able to respond quickly in the case of a mass shooting?
They seem to have a pretty robust response to this, and there are a number of other police agencies from the area as well as federal agencies that have responded. One thing about Atlanta is it's the home of a large federal law enforcement presence between the FBI and the Marshal Service and other agencies. So they're ATF. So a lot of those agencies have been responding as well. It is, it's unclear how the perpetrator was able to get away because presumably police were swarming on the location pretty quickly. So we don't really know how that happened, and we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully they'll have some surveillance video that shows how he left the building, and maybe which direction he headed in. And that's something we should be finding out in the next hours, if not sooner.
Thanks to everyone at CBS News for the coverage in this ongoing case. And I want to bring the face of this man one more time. This if I can get it pulled up here. All right, here we go. All right, here he is, ladies and gentlemen. This is Deion Patterson, 24 years of age. They only have the birth date of October of 1998. That's the only information we have on him. If anyone in the Atlanta area happens to know of his whereabouts, if you see something, say something. Get in contact with the Atlanta Metro Police Department. Call 911. But whatever you do, do not encounter this man yourself. He is considered, as you see at the top bar right here, armed and dangerous. As far as any more information, I will have that for you as I get it. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me for this special report. Again, 5 women have been shot. 1 was killed. One is in stable condition. The other 3 are in critical condition. Again, I will have more updates as it develops. Until then, this is Ernest Bethea, the last outlaw for Bethea's Byte Reloaded, your home for news, opinions, debates, your voice, and justice served. Keep it back here. It's Bethea's Byte, and it's reloaded. For updates on this story and more, follow Bethea's Byte Reloaded all over social media. This has been a special report from Bethea's Byte Reloaded.